Take it away.
Hello, my name is Brian Powers, and I'm the Chief Customer Experience Officer with Brightstar. We're a global provider of repair and replacement services for mobile devices and gadgets, and also accessories. We're operating in 20 different countries and have 3,000 employees. I was brought on just a year and a half ago to help develop this customer experience practice, and a lot of this I depend on customer experience analytics, which is the topic today, and how we're advancing CX analytics maturity to improve the overall customer experience and journeys. I've been in the contact center industry and customer experience for over 20 years. My first role was in call center consulting. I've run call centers for Verizon in the Mid-Atlantic region in the US. I've been in the enterprise feedback management or VOC industry for a number of years, running programs for AT&T, Sprint, Bell Canada, and several others. And most recently, I've been involved with customer experience in a holistic omni-channel view, as I believe many of you are as well. I'm not going to talk through individual vendors, and I can recommend them if people follow up with me offline, but I want to be more vendor agnostic. The first key point I'd like to make is KPIs have evolved significantly over time. And those of us that have been in the industry more than a decade would more than likely agree and be able to add to what I believe are the key KPIs that we've seen emerge over the years and been discussed as, the North Star. So in the 80s, many of us recall USAA as championing the best average speed of answer, or ASA, being below 10 seconds. And in modern day, we know that's more a function of good workforce management, optimization, scheduling, and planning around key days, weeks, events, so you've got the right staffing, number of people who are able and skilled to handle those calls. So more a matter of just whether that's something that you want to achieve, but is that really correlated strongly enough to the end North Star metric, whichever your company may choose, or not, is going to be up to you. In the 90s, the focus was on average handle time, or AHT. We want to get the customer off the phone on their way so the agent can quickly get onto another phone call. And we looked at how many calls did an agent handle during a day as something that we would incent. So gone was the opening, the warm opening, the empathy, or the tagline at the end. And it was more about how many calls can I take during a day, which led to obviously first call resolution. In customer care, a lot of times we call it squeezing the balloon. If you focus on AHT, your calls are shorter, then your first call resolution falls. Because really we want the agent to do some digging, understand the overall intent of the customer's inquiry today, and then follow up and say, is there anything else I can do for you today? And earnestly mean it. Or use AI and determine if you're getting product A, maybe you're interested in product B. Or if you're changing your address here, would you like to change your address there? Right? So you're preventing that next call, which typically is measured within the next 5-day period. Followed by Net Promoter Score, right? Again, another holy grail North Star metric, thanks to Fred Reichheld around 2001 or 2. This is the question of, would you recommend our product or service to your friends, family, and neighbors? And if so, please give us a 10 and not a 0 on this scale. So this is one that many of us have used, the boardrooms are using, a number of people have their bonuses are also related back to improvement or stability of a Net Promoter Score. Really just a tipping point, starting point until you've applied filter to understand what's driving this. Next level of effort, around 2010, the interest was how easy or difficult was it to have your question or issue resolved today? And this is omni-channel. So whether you're dealing with chatbot, agent, walk-in, phone call, are these channels being optimized for your preference so that your inquiry is being resolved to your satisfaction, and it wasn't that hard to resolve it? Which brings us more to modern day, and we could debate if this is a metric that all companies should look at, but this is one that certainly I trumpet, and that is interactions per year per customer. Why does a customer need to interact with you at all for any service-related issues or questions? For example, if they make a purchase on Amazon, how frequently do they need to call or speak to an agent or check on anything? That in Amazon's model is they already push out status, so you don't have to come back to the website. You don't need to chat with them. You don't need to make a phone call to them to track anything. And if anything's delayed, they proactively provide that status as well. So across omni-channel, how often does a customer have to interact with you when they have an issue? And how many of them are having an issue? So instead of how quickly are we answering that call, getting it resolved, getting really good at apologizing, how are we avoiding that? And why do customers need to contact you at all? I think many of us can resonate how this goalie feels, right? Many times we're in a board meeting or meeting with a client, and we always point to, the scoreboard, and we have all these different metrics that we're trying to accomplish. And you could have 19 out of 20 be green, and that one that's in red is the one that's going to be brought up in question. Well, what are you going to do about AHT, abandon rate, cost per call, number of calls per customer, after call work, etc.? And there's just no way to be able to guard against that. So that's why we want to focus on using these types of tools that drive the best change, give us the insight so we can monitor across all these, find out which are emerging as trouble spots or most likely points of friction, and dive in with these solutions. So this is back to the overall topic for today. This is the key that I see for all the main emerging tools that help with CX analytics, and I'll go through each one on the next slide. Customer journey analytics. This is more like a holistic view of how a customer's journey traverses across all your touch points. So working with usually an outside vendor, you would provide them with all of your IVR files, your customer emails that have come in, a track record of all the calls, anybody who's chatted or used a chat bot, and feed this into this powerful engine. And so then they're going to show you the path. Did the customer first go to the website? Fail. Go to a chat? Fail. Try the chat bot? Fail. And then make a phone call. IVR, did that resolve their inquiry? Maybe. And then did they speak to an agent? And then when you understand what that customer was trying to accomplish on the call, you can understand, is this a path that needs improvement and across which touch points? This is especially valid and helpful when you want to assess the return on investment on improvements of certain projects or technologies that you've implemented into this ecosphere. No longer do we call these surveys. Now it's enterprise feedback because we're in an omni-channel world. We want to understand how this customer felt about the end-to-end journey. Not just was something repaired or something was shipped or did they get their device, but how was the overall process, right? Back to Net Promoter Score. End-to-end journey, everything from what was promised, how was the ordering experience, how was it delivered, was there any follow-up necessary afterwards, and what was their satisfaction level across the entire journey. Text analytics not only applies to verbatims provided in a survey, but also during a phone call with an agent. So with today's modern technology from a variety of vendors, they listen to the call, it's recorded, and then in real time or near real time, the text analytics engine kicks in, picks up on semantics, keywords. It can categorize what the call was about and help you identify ongoing trends, perform quality assurance on your agents, and all this done in near real time. The IVR has been around for decades, right? This is press 1 for service, press 2 for sales, etc. So we can leverage the insights and analytics from this to see what types of customers are calling and using this valuable touch point, how many are having calls contained in the IVR versus calls deflected, and how are these being, are they bouncing around in the system? Is this being used effectively? Are they prompts not proper? And do we need to change the order? So by doing this, you're going to improve the overall customer experience by getting them through the IVR, getting their questions resolved, and then working further upstream in other channels to improve the expectations so that call does not have to be made. Email platforms have gone next level as well. So if you've worked with one of the many email service providers or ESPs, you can gain a lot of intelligence from these messages that are going out and seeing what's being opened, number one, what's being clicked on in the messages. So you can identify a customer's engagement level and then use that as a predictor of churn. If a customer is less engaged, maybe they're more likely to churn, and you can do your own studies of that and then propose different offers. If someone's not opening the messages, maybe you want to offer them something to stick around, or such as free channels. We see that with the cable companies, discounted rates. We see that with a lot of the phone companies, with the cellular services, um, and many other uses. Correlation studies. So what are the main variables in KPIs that are tied to your success outcome? Is it customer retention? Is it customer lifetime value? Is it new customers coming on board, higher spend? So all of these can be tied back to certain variables, such as how often are they purchasing? Are they purchasing on a sale time? Are they calling very frequently? Are they dropping soon after a bad interaction? Maybe you need to give them gift cards after they do that. Maybe, and determine the amount. Is this customer valued? Because if that's the trigger and that's highly correlated to retention, then you should be able to justify some kind of spend. Workforce management is another tool. In fact, we're launching our workforce management tool this week. No more spreadsheets are needed. So we're able to effectively staff customer service agents based on skills. And we know now, based on prior patterns, how often customers are calling, what day of the week are they most likely going to be calling, certain times of day, the day after the Super Bowl, maybe that's the greatest call out day of the year. So how do we effectively overstaff or staff to meet our service level obligations throughout the day and week? A/B testing has been around for decades as well, most commonly used by sales groups and marketing to test different offers. So if I were offered $5 off a coupon in the mail and I used it, someone else was offered a $10 off coupon and they used it. Well, they just wasted $5 by offering too much of a coupon to customer B. So maybe customer A and that profile can be used for future offers and maximize their profitability. We can do the same thing with customer service as we're testing out new chat scripts or sending some customers to a chat bot instead of a chat. Also scripts for customer care agents and changes to the IVR. So you can test these before rolling these out in more wide-scale fashion. So I wanted to share with you some of my CX analytic best practices. Number one, as I said before, and I think most all of you would agree, there's too many KPIs that we could be held to be accountable for, but which are the key ones that really we should be measured upon, because measurement increases action. So select a couple, gear your strategies around those, and then report on those quite frequently. And these targets need to be set as realistic or pragmatic, and then aspirational, right? What's our long-term goal? What company do you want to look like? And what do their metrics look like? And then how can you derive the right tools to provide insight on whether you're hitting those targets and you're on the right path? Once you have these set, communicate regularly. Those in the CX industry cannot be seen as a scoreboard operator, if you will. We need to be shown as driving that action, pointing to where the fires are and helping to put them out, and then sharing these on a regular basis on a widespread group distribution as much as you can. Also, I can't hype this enough. Metrics are just a starting point. A company's NPS is just a combination of everything combined to deliver that customer experience. So until you apply filters, it's just merely a number. It's like saying it's 75 degrees without mentioning, oh, and it's raining and there's a hurricane coming and a cold front. So we need to understand everything about that. So is the metric higher with new joiners? Maybe you've over discounted a new customer, but NPS is lower on customers who've been with you for over a year because maybe a discount has expired and they're at full rack rate now and churning. Continue to assess emerging technologies. Webinars such as this, by and large, are free. Take part in as many as you can. Listen to people who've been in the industry, and also take part in vendor presentations, right? Demos are free. Now, eventually you have to break up, tell them that you're not interested, but they're willing to educate you on emerging technologies and ways that they can help you, and then that'll build your knowledge base so that then when a situation arises that maybe you do have money or you can build an ROI story, the vendors will help you with that, then you're prepared. You already know who's in this space, what tools can be leveraged to help you achieve your desired outcomes. Dashboards are great, but we end up with a couple people who are really good at creating these, and then everybody wants to leverage those talents and cut and paste those graphics into their PowerPoint for every quarterly business review. Instead, use these tools to create dashboards that others can apply filters, create their own views for each one of their clients or customers, for each one of their time periods that they're interested. Let them apply filters so that then they can create the views that they want on an ongoing basis. Also, assess each one of these touch points across the holistic journey. Some major companies have an IVR unit, a website group, chatbot, retail, and yes, they talk to each other, but they need to be really aligned because the customer doesn't see us as individual units. They see this as an omni-channel experience. And when they walk into a store, they expect to know that you've already called into the call center and not had your issue resolved. So companies need to adopt the same view as the customer. Lastly, conduct this post-project return on investment. Finance can be your best friends in a company. Once you've gotten your VOC or EFM, your workforce management project approved, and you've got a certain ROI tied to it, circle back in a few months if they don't come to you and prove out that overall return on investment was actually realized, because a lot of times these are SaaS programs. It requires recurring investment, and you need the company to continue to support your initiatives. And also this will pave the way for getting investment for other future initiatives that you bring before them, because there is a positive ROI for a lot of these CX tools that are coming